WTWD Plant City, WLCC Brandon.
Faith Talk Tampa. Online at letstalkfaith.com. Or listen on TuneIn and Odyssey.
Belief in God is on the decline in this country. Michael Harrington has results of a new study.
20 years ago, 90% of Americans professed faith in a higher power. Today, a new Gallup poll finds only 74% still feel that way. In fact, belief in the supernatural is in decline generally. Only 67% of the general population thinks that heaven exists, and just 59% believe in hell. When it comes to Satan, only 58% believe. These trends match a corresponding decline in America's Christian faith. Michael Harrington, SRN News.
Evangelical Christians continue to make up a big part of former President Trump's support as he seeks the Republican presidential nomination in 2024. Pastor Robert Jeffress of First Baptist Church in Dallas, not surprised that evangelicals are standing by Mr. Trump, even as other candidates such as Tim Scott and Mike Pence tout their faith. This is SRN News. The Bluebird is grounded in San Francisco.
The city opened a complaint and launched an investigation of a giant X sign that cropped up Friday on top of the downtown headquarters of the social media platform formerly known as Twitter. Elon Musk, who bought the platform, announced the name change this week. He tried to remove the iconic Twitter sign and Bluebird on Monday, but workers were stopped for safety reasons. San Francisco's building inspection department also says Musk needs permits to change the signage. Rhonda Rockster reporting.
The U.S. judge will consider whether to temporarily stop Hawaii from enforcing a controversial new state law. It prohibits carrying a gun on beaches and other locations deemed to be sensitive. 3 Maui residents are suing to block that measure. They argue Hawaii is going too far with a ban that also includes restaurants serving alcohol and bank parking lots. Hawaii says it's crucial for public safety and the health of the economy, as beaches are a central pillar of the tourism industry. More details.
The following program is sponsored by the law offices of Patrick L. Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Get ready with your legal questions and call Patrick now. 877-943-9673. Again, that's 877-943-9673. The law office is open. And now your host, Patrick Smith.
Good morning, Florida. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, and I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. Today is Saturday, July 29th, and we will be with you for the next hour to answer all of your legal questions. Give us a call now, 877-943-9673. The law office lines are open, and we have Brian, the call screener, standing by, ready to get you on the air with me, yours truly, Attorney Patrick Smith, to answer any and all of your legal questions. Again, that toll-free studio line, 877-943-9673, or you can email me, Patrick at attorneypatricksmith.com. You can also submit a question directly through the website, attorneypatricksmith.com, which is where you can also check out all of our office locations, my bio, and the podcast version of prior shows that we put out. If you want to go back and re-listen to a show that was of particular interest to you, they're all available on the website, attorneypatricksmith.com. And the usual cast of characters here today, we have Yumiko the producer, Lexi the intern, and like I said, Brian the call screener, standing by to get you on the air with us with your legal question. 877-943-9673. So if you remember last week's episode, we sort of touched on the tip of the iceberg about bad legal advice given by non-attorneys in social media. Specifically, this case, we were talking about TikTok, and the interns were given the assignment of sort of, go flesh this out a little bit, see what you can find as far as bad legal advice given. And the interns did not disappoint. We have some wonderful examples of terrible legal advice given by non-attorneys and sort of the correct answers in response given by yours truly, a licensed Florida attorney. So if you want to participate in this conversation, maybe you've heard bad legal advice. Maybe you've given bad legal advice and you're not a lawyer. 877-943-9673. I'd love to talk to you. 877-943-9673. In the world where bad legal advice is given by non-attorneys, there's probably no more fertile ground than criminal law advice. and you hear people, tell people all kinds of wonderful misinformation about criminal legal matters and how to best deal with them using someone's Google law degree. So I thought most appropriate, we'd start with a clip regarding a potential traffic or maybe even criminal matter, depending on what was going on. So, Yumiko, do we have the clip teed up? All right, we'll go ahead and play the clip, and then I'll give you my commentary.
A cop can't run your license plate if you don't have a license plate. It's a pro tip.
All right, so the gentleman claims to be giving what he's, quote, calling a pro tip. And this is according to keepdreaming_hoon on TikTok. And the pro tip he's giving is the cop can't run your license plate if you don't have a license plate. Well, this is according to Brittany, the intern's research. While that's logistically accurate, if you don't have a license plate, they can't run it. It's also illegal. Florida statute, it's actually Florida statute 316-605, requires you to display appropriately your license plate. And here's another little fun fact. You're not allowed to obscure those license plates in any way. So, some of you out there with your tinted covers over your license plate, you can be pulled and cited for that. If you have a decorative border that it all covers the license plate, technically you're not allowed to cover, obscure that license plate in any way. So, our first example, claiming law enforcement can't run your license plate if you don't have a license plate. But, while that's technically accurate, it still doesn't make it any more legal. So make sure you have your license plate prominently displayed. But the real pro tip here, make sure you don't have anything obstructing it. So people who don't know this oftentimes have those decorative covers around their license plate or put stickers that aren't, state issued registration stickers all over their license plates. Technically, that's a violation of Florida statute. So make sure you're aware of how you prominently display your license plates. So 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. That's your number to be part of today's show. We're live and local open studio lines. Give us a call now. I'm Attorney Patrick Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, and we'll be with you the next hour to answer all of your legal questions. I want to give out the office line early for our early crowd. If you want to book your appointment with me, yours truly, you can do so by dialing this number, 877-754-6764. That's your office line to reach us Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. 877-754-6764. Call that number, and any of my friendly staff will be happy to get you scheduled in Sarasota, Sun City Center, Clearwater, or any of our other office locations. Again, that toll-free number, 877-754-6764. But talk to us today, live and local, on the air. We'll answer your legal questions free of charge. 877-943-9673, or shoot me an email, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. Now, Lexi the intern, I'm going to let you tee up this next segment of our bad legal advice given by unlicensed participants in the law, because Lexi took an interesting twist on this. So Lexi, I'll just let you explain to the listeners kind of what you did, because the assignment was go down and look at the TikTok treasure trove of bad advice, but tell the listeners sort of where you landed.
Right. So I ended up on the pages of Reddit. Reddit is a social news website and forum where content is usually socially curated. So kind of what that means is that there are people, again, without any legal training, that can post anything that they want. And this is a forum for not just law, it's for everything. It's for gardening. They have things about children's activities, anything. The Reddit member registration is free. It's required to use the website's basic features. So you do have to have an account that is set up to your name. But Reddit is full of different forums where people of similar interests can post feeds about basically anything. Like I said, farming to medical advice to legal advice. And most of these people are not doctors or even legally trained people. This is definitely not a child or teen-friendly website. It can be home to a ton of different forms of inappropriate content, but of course, there are still children on there. So in terms of how I ended up on here, I have known Reddit for so long for being full of terrible advice, whether it's about undergraduate, I've looked up a lot of that, about classes, about, the law school applications, and it's awful. A lot of them on there say, don't study for your law school admission test. That's terrible advice. But in terms of legal advice, it might seem like a good idea for forum designed for non-law people to ask legal questions in hopes that an attorney will respond. However, this is not usually what happens, and I fell down a rabbit hole of finding so many examples of this.
Well, and to that end, we have some examples for you. So example one that Lexi found, and actually she did a great job because, like I said, there's a treasure trove of bad criminal law advice out there. It takes a little more effort to find the estate planning misinformation that's given out there. So here's example one. The question asked on reddit.com was, it was one of these online will services, but as I'm getting older, nervous about the true legality of the documents. A flat fee lawyer for estate planning is about $2,000. That's not the case at our office. Just we'll come back to our fees in a second. But I sure want my estate planning to be dispensed with properly following my demise. This is as it's written, folks. We didn't correct the grammar. Hopefully many years away. Does anyone have experience with the legality of the will maker software, or should I properly get a lawyer to write up my will and medical directions? All right, here's the answer. This was on an online forum, and someone went on and answered that question, presumably with no legal or law license or any legal experience. A self-written will is perfectly usable and legal. I've had attorneys review our self-written wills, and they said they were top-notch. Well, just to be clear, saying they're top-notch isn't saying they're valid. They could be top-notch self-written wills and still fall short of validity. The key, this is going on to read the answer. The key, of course, is to transfer property outside of probate. Well, we can agree on that. That's a great goal to have. Assign beneficiaries and rights of inheritance on all of your financial accounts. Be sure about how you title real estate and vehicles too. Where do we start? All right, let's just start at the top. A self-written will, or the other term for that is a holographic will. And I hear some attorneys misstate this from time to time, by the way, and they'll say things like, a holographic will is not valid in Florida. But I think you need to finish that sentence with, a holographic will is not valid in Florida unless it comports and complies with the Florida requirements on will making. So to be clear, if you hand wrote a will that fully complied with Florida's statutory requirements for making a will, the fact that it's handwritten does not void it ab initio. So to be clear, we're dealing with a difference between states. There are states like the state of North Carolina, where I attended law school at Chapel Hill, where a will that is entirely written in someone's handwriting, and I believe the statute up there says something about putting it in a file desk or drawer or something to that effect. But if it's entirely written in someone's handwriting, it's valid by operation of being in their handwriting. So Florida says, nah, that's not going to get it there. But if it is in your handwriting and it meets with Florida's requirements for will making, which means it is a document signed at the end by the testator in the presence of two witnesses, all of who signed together, this can be a valid will. The fact that it's entirely in your handwriting does not invalidate it, but it has to comply with those statutory rules, which, by the way, is Florida Statute 732-502. A lot of you out there like to look up the statutes, so we always do our best to give you the direct source. So 732-502 is the rule on the requirements for a valid will in Florida, and as it relates to holographic wills. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number. I'm Attorney Patrick Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, and we are here and happy to help any way we can. Give us a call now. Open studio lines 877-943-9673. The other part of that answer that we can address next is the part about avoiding probate. It's a great idea to avoid probate. It's lengthy and expensive. If it's a formal probate, depending on the county and the nature of the assets, it can take anywhere from 6 to 14 months and cost 3 to 10%. But I think there's often a way to optimize avoiding probate. So now the goal here, and the heart of the question, was about using an online pro forma service. And the way I describe that is, a lot of times these services are promising you valid documents. Now, they're promising you something that is valid. That's not the same promise as this is the best document for you and your family. And you'll notice they often have disclaimers on these online services that say something to the effect of, we're not attorneys. This is not designed to replace an attorney or something of that nature. That ought to tell you something. And I think that's sort of nodding at this distinction between a valid document versus the best document. And the way I describe it to clients who ask this in the office is I say it's kind of like if you went in and just went into a random department store and started buying clothes to put on. You can have clothes that you're wearing, but you're not going to look as good if you went to a tailor, picked a fabric, they took your measurements, you had a fitting. Now, in either situation, you're fully dressed, you're fully clothed, but you look a lot better having visited the tailor. I think that's the difference between having an attorney do it directly who's customizing the documents for you and your family versus doing one of these online pro forma kits. So the last part of the answer has to do with making sure you have beneficiaries on your accounts. I agree with that. I think you kind of look to your attorney and your financial advisor to give you some advice on how to optimize beneficiary designation. I do think some people over rely on beneficiary designation where they want to put beneficiaries on things like checking, savings, and money market accounts. I think there, the gap potentially is if you're incapacitated on those types of accounts, oftentimes the family needs access to them while you're incapacitated to pay bills or to protect those funds from creditors. And a beneficiary designation falls short of that because it doesn't give them any control until you've actually passed away. So if you're incapacitated, you can run into that scenario where you're possibly frozen out of that account. And I think that's where a trust, having the accounts in the trust, now we've agreed we can avoid probate and give a successor trustee the ability to access that account to protect it for us while we're incapacitated. 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm Attorney Patrick Smith, and today we are discussing bad legal advice given by non-attorneys in social media world. And we are currently running through some examples that Lexi, the intern, found during her research this week. Example 2, Lexi. My partner and I need to get a simple will drawn up as we've recently had a child. Well, congratulations on the new child. That's wonderful news. And want to make sure all of our ducks are in a row. What is the best way to go about this? An online will kit? A lawyer? We are looking for something reasonably priced, but also done correctly. That's why I want to circle back to what we were talking about in the previous example where he said, he was getting quotes for about $2,000. The fees at our office, they have not changed. The fee for a simple will is $75. The fee for our trust package is $695. And people ask me, they say, why do you publish your fees? I think it's important for people to know what you're going to charge them for these sorts of services. I think it takes away a lot of the intimidation, a lot of the anxiety people have about going to see an attorney if they can have an idea. And we try to price it so that everyone can afford to get what they need for their family. And I think that is a good example. You have a young family here and they're having a child recently. Having a child's not cheap. There's a lot of expenses that go with that. And I think at the end of the day, this is a situation where these parents are being good parents. They're being good stewards, making sure the child's taken care of. Because I think one of the most important things you do when you're setting up an estate plan and there's a minor child involved, it's less to do with the inheritance of the funds. It's more to do with who's going to raise the child should something happen to the parents. You can select the guardian to continue raising that child. I mean, you have to put yourself in a pretty dark place and think about a world where the child has lost their parents. So this is not a situation where that trauma has to go unaddressed. This is a situation where whomever is going to be left the responsibility of finishing raising that child is going to have to more than likely take that child to some sort of therapy throughout their life and make sure that they get through school, make sure they have health insurance. I mean, it's a lot of responsibility. So you want to carefully select that person who will finish raising your child. I often tell clients, go ahead and in addition to writing the documents, designating who, write them a handwritten letter, just sort of the spirit with which you would like your child raised. Sometimes the parents write letters to the child or children to be read to them at certain ages. I think the more you memorialize in writing, the less likely there is to be conflict. And a lot of times you can do a lot not to eliminate the trauma in a situation like that, but I think you can certainly lessen the trauma with good planning. 877-943-9673. 888-267-7373. And the answer, before we go to our next caller, not recommending this. Well, if you're not recommending it, why are you writing this as the answer? That's my question here. But you can write a will on pretty much anything, parens napkin, and it's valid in most provinces. Okay. So the way they're saying provinces, Yumiko, what type of citizen do you think we're dealing with when they say the word provinces? Guesses? No? Lexi, what type of citizen would be dealing with if they're referring to provinces?
I would say someone outside of the 50 states.
I'm guessing sovereign citizen. That smacks to me of a sovereign citizen's type answer. And they go on to say it's called a holographic will, and you must write it in your writing, have a date, your name, indication. It is your last will and testament. Obviously, you'd want to include as much as you can. Who is the executor, guardianship, child? That's good information about including more detail. Usually this type of will is the best in very last minute scenarios where will is required. We do see that a lot, where people sort of wait to the end to get it done. I don't think the napkin's relevant. I think the most important thing for a Florida resident under our statute, which we talked about at the top of this segment, 732-502, is that it complies with Florida statute. So if it's on a napkin, if it's on a surfboard, if it's on a countertop at a diner, and it complies with Florida statutes, I think that is what's going to be outcome determinative if it's a valid will or not. This, the funniest thing to me about this was not recommending this, but I'm going to go ahead and recommend this. So there's a couple other examples. We'll get to them shortly, but first we're going to go to Tampa and we're going to talk to a very patient Donna. Donna, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Hey, I have an example of bad legal advice.
I'm all ears, Donna.
Somebody wrote a book and it was published that you could avoid probate by putting your son or daughter on your deed somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a job taking homestead exemption, applicants for homestead exemption. And you used to have to come to the courthouse with your deed and everything to apply for the first time. And what happened was I had at least a dozen, old people come in with their deed expecting to get a full homestead, but their son or daughter was on their deed, so they could only get half a homestead.
Donna, don't say the name of the book, but I think I know the one you're alluding to. Just having
I don't know the name of the book.
Okay.
It just happened that people came in, and what happened was when you applied for homestead, it
yes, ma'am,
after the first. So if that person was not living with you, so they'd come in February or March to apply, and that person was not living with you, there was nothing you could do. You couldn't take them off the deed. You couldn't say, because they weren't living with you on January 1st, the night of January 1st.
All right. So you worked in the Register of Deeds at the clerk's office, it sounds like. Is that accurate, Donna?
Yes. When you had to type it out and you'd have, in triplicate.
Right.
So and you would give them a physical thing and you would give one somewhere and you'd keep two.
So, Donna, first of all, thank you for calling in. I'm going to address your response, and then I'm going to ask you a question, if that's okay. So I think you hit the nail on the head. Adding a child's name to a homestead property, while it also triggers other negatives like potential gift taxes and exposure to that child's liability, because if that child now goes through a divorce or is in an auto accident and this home or part of it is not homesteaded, I think you run risk of exposure under the state constitutional analysis. In addition to the point you're making, loss of the ad valorem property tax exemption under Florida Statute 196. Here's the other. I want to change the facts on you, Donna, briefly. So let's say the other person, the child they added, is actually living in the home with the parent, but that child owns another home that they have homesteaded. Now, regardless if they're living with the parent or not, you can't get full exemption on the parent's property because the child already has their own homestead, correct?
Yes. And also, like if you would have to show that, first of all, you lived in the home. And then also, if you voted, you had to vote in Florida. If you had a driver's license, it had to be in Florida. You couldn't have a New York, because they had people come in. A lot of people came in with a New York driver's license and voted in New York, but bought a house in Florida, and they couldn't do that. They couldn't get their homestead.
Well, let me ask you this too, because here's another misconception we see all the time at the office. We see deeds that are not validly executed deeds for whatever reason, Donna. But I will tell you this, the number one misconception I deal with laypersons and deeds, if that deed gets recorded with your office, they presume that that is a blessing of that document as being valid. Maybe, Donna, speak a little bit to the fact that the recording of the deed at the clerk's office is not, in fact, a verification, validation of the document by the clerk's office. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Oh, I don't know. I just typed out the applications and I just told people you can't get homestead. You can't get your exemption.
Yeah. And then the property gets
and
then in addition to that, the property gets reevaluated for property tax purposes too, doesn't it?
I don't know. I just know that people came in and you said, let me see your driver's license. And they said, oh, I don't have it with me, or I don't have one. And you would look at them and you would say, oh, if, you drive, how'd you get here? And if they have a driver's license. Now, some people came in with no driver's license,
Like didn't have one at all, or just forgot it at home?
Like they were blind. They didn't have a driver's license.
What about a state-issued ID card?
Yeah, you could use that, but some people came in and didn't have one, so I had a notary. So I had to look at somebody and just try and judge, and I would notarize it.
Wow.
A statement that said they didn't have an ID, and I would have to judge, do I think that person drives or not?
Well, Donna, we appreciate your firsthand knowledge. No, you're the boots on the ground there in the office, at the clerk's office, and that's sort of the front lines of where bad legal advice meets action, and then it sort of collides with the clerk's office. And God bless the clerk's office and the good work they do over there. And the one thing that I think that I hear more often is that they accurately say, "Look, we're not here to give legal advice. We're here to be the clerk of the court." And I think that that's wonderful that they sort of bounce people to their attorneys for the appropriate legal advice. But Donna, we appreciate you calling in. What station are you listening on?
102.5 The Bone.
All right, Donna, we appreciate your faithful listenership. You have a great weekend, okay?
Every Saturday morning.
Oh, God bless you, Donna. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All righty, 877-943-9673. We treasure all our listeners over at 102.5 The Bone and all of our other 14 stations who carry the show on Saturday morning. So we'd love to talk to you today. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. Before we go to our next caller, Lexi, can we talk a little bit? You've had some run-ins and a little bit of fame growing with, we've had a couple instances now where clients are recognizing you from the show. What's that like, Lexi?
It's my celebrity awakening.
Your is that the official term for this?
That's what I'm calling it.
Lexi's celebrity awakening. Yeah. We've had a couple of clients recently come in and go, oh my gosh, you're Lexi the intern from the show. So it's pretty neat to see something like that happening, but you will get more recognized as time goes on, I assure you, but you won't get what I call TV recognition. It's totally different. So 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number to be part of today's show. 877-943-9673. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith, and we're discussing bad legal advice. So, all right, our next caller, Peter the intern. Peter the intern, are you there?
I sure am. How are you, Patrick?
I'm great, Peter the intern. What's going on with you? You're not in studio today.
No. So this morning, me and my wife are taking our maternity photos.
Well, that's exciting.
It is, but I've also got a legal question for you.
Is it about maternity photos?
No, it is not.
All right, go ahead.
I've got some friends whose parents want to purchase a $800,000 home for them. And they asked me if there would be any consequences. And I said, I believe there would be a gift tax, but I want to make 100% sure what that tax would be.
So the present interest annual exclusion currently, I think, is still $17,000. That's the amount you can gift away per person per year. It regenerates annually. You go over that, then we're beyond the exemption. And the gift taxes, I believe the scale is anywhere, it's a sliding scale, 15 to 40 cents on the dollar. So you're right, it could be some pretty substantial tax, but that can be either paid or you can, in a timely filed 709 through an accountant, allocate unified credit. These are credits you're given over your lifetime that you can choose to allocate to structured gifts and eliminate the need to pay the tax. People misstate this all the time too, Peter. They say things like, well, that means you don't have to pay the tax. That's not entirely accurate. It's just saying that the tax has been satisfied with these credits. Now, this is a well you're dipping in, and that water in the well is not available later in life, meaning if you dip in that well now to allocate these credits towards this gift, then it's not available for your estate taxes. But most people have way more credits than they need. And that's because the current exemption is like 12.9 million. So I think, they can do it. I think it's just a matter of making certain that the gifting is set up properly. They get with a good accountant. I always recommend anytime there's any tax, whether it's income, estate, gift, or generation skipping tax, any of those major 4 transfer taxes, always bring an accountant into the conversation. So, but those are some generous parents.
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
A little bit jealous.
So where you don't have to give the address or anything, but kind of where are you doing the maternity photo shoot this morning?
We're doing it in Sarasota.
On the beach?
No, we're going to this used bookstore, coffee shop, and then maybe one of the college level water.
And when's the due date? It's coming up.
The due date is September 13th.
Oh, that's right around the corner. How is London feeling? She feeling good?
She's feeling good, doing better.
Good. Well, thanks for calling in, Peter. Great question. Good luck with the maternity photos, okay?
Thank you, Patrick. Have a good day.
You too. All righty, 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number to be part of today's show. 877-943-9673. I'm Attorney Patrick Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, and you can call in now. We are live and local. 877-943-9673. All right, so let's see here. Example 3, lawyers of Reddit. What is the worst advice you've seen on this is the particular thread for legal advice. And the example here, I remember the time someone was mentioning they were gearing up for a divorce, but I remember this example. Yeah, this is entertaining. This is the stuff of like television dramas. Yumiko, you're going to like this. I remember the time someone was mentioning they were gearing up for a divorce, but didn't have enough money to retain an attorney for proceeding. Someone on the this is their sub thread on Reddit, gave them the advice they should get consultations with all of the top divorce attorneys in the region. The reasoning was that if the attorney had consulted with one side in a case, then they are obligated to not be able to represent the other side. They wanted the spouse to also not have access to an attorney. That's just a different level of vicious right there, folks. Comes out later that the original party actually took that advice and consulted with the 30 divorce attorneys. With 30 divorce attorneys? 30. The commitment to that process. I feel like if you were half as committed to the marriage, maybe that could have been saved. None were able to take the case, so spouse had a hard time hiring one. Eventually, the spouse and attorney found the thread on Reddit and were able to tie the account back to the original party. The judge not only rules totally in favor of the spouse of the original party, was also ordered to pay part of the attorney's fees due to what they call abuse of process, acting in bad faith, etc., which made things more expensive. Wow. Just the level of dedication to attempting to manipulate the system. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. And folks, we see bad legal advice all the time. It comes in. Lexi, if let's say we have 20 appointments in a day, during how many of those appointments would you say we run into some example of a client repeating to us bad legal advice they've received from a non-attorney?
It's pretty common. A lot of it does come from like Googling things and, looking up, is a trust worth it? And then finding a whole thread about how a trust isn't worth it when they come in and we look at really the facts of their case. And we completely see a whole different view.
Yeah, and to be clear, we always encourage clients to do research, and the more educated client is the happiest client. I just think it's really important you question the sources that you're using for that research. And Reddit may not be the best source for actual legal advice. Clearly, a great source for entertainment. So 877-943-9673. We're live and local. Happy to help any way that we can. 877-943-9673. You can give us a call now, live and local. Happy to help. The office line, if you want to schedule your consultation with me, Attorney Patrick Smith, 877-754-6764. 877-754-6764. That's the toll-free office line to schedule in Sun City Center, where we've recently added a new treasure trove of appointments to accommodate the demand there. So for all those of you who were on the wait list or are waiting a little longer than you wanted for the appointment, we've added a bunch of appointment slots. So feel free to give a call, 877-754-6764, and they will be happy to get you scheduled for Sun City Center, Sarasota, Clearwater, or any of our office locations. And you can also email me directly for your appointment or just request it directly through the website, attorneypatricksmith.com. Now, if you want to be part of the show, that number, 877-943-9673. All right. Now, the other topic, in addition to the bad legal advice topic we had prepped for today's show, was Governor Ron DeSantis considering filing a lawsuit against Bud Light's parent company, Anheuser-Busch. According to Newsweek, DeSantis, a Republican 2024 hopeful, accused Anheuser-Busch in a recent Fox News interview of pursuing a political agenda at the expense of shareholders when it used transgender social media influencer Dylan Mulvaney to promote Bud Light earlier this year. The promotion featured Mulvaney opening a beer can featuring his face to celebrate 1 year anniversary of her transitioning, which she promoted on her Instagram channel. It resulted in a major conservative boycott of Bud Light, which saw the value of Anheuser-Busch stock plummet by billions. And a letter to the state's pension fund manager, Governor DeSantis, called for legal action against Bud Light's parent company over claims it had breached, this is a quote, breached legal duties owed to its shareholders when it decided to associate itself with radical social ideologies with Mulvaney's promotion. In a letter to the state's pension fund manager, DeSantis went on to call for additional legal action with regard to the alleged breach to shareholders. The culture wars have seen DeSantis engage in a long-running feud with Disney after Disney famously came out against his parental rights and education bill. An attorney by the name of Adam J. Zayed, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, he's the managing trial attorney of Zayed Law Offices, suggested that DeSantis claims that Anheuser-Busch can be sued for damaging the state's pensions with the Mulvaney promotion is an quote, inflammatory publicity stunt from the governor. Zayed went on to say, lawyers cannot file lawsuits based on personal conjecture or speculation. I think we all agree with that. Additionally, from a business perspective, shouldn't corporations be allowed to market to new audiences in an attempt to grow their franchise? It seems probable that the alleged backlash by Bud Light consumers was unreasonable and based on prejudice, Zayed told Newsweek. So, a couple of thoughts on this. I'm not saying it's something that shouldn't be on the governor's radar, but can we fix the homeowners insurance crisis first? I kind of feel like people care more about that, and the people who are getting canceled or just having their homeowners rates rise dramatically. I feel like that's a priority need in legislation. Let's focus on the homeowners insurance companies and not so much Anheuser-Busch's advertising campaign. I get the governor's point, kind of. I just don't see how it's more of a front burner item than homeowners insurance. I'm failing to connect those dots. If you have an opinion on it, 877-943-9673. And the reason we bring it up, again, not to get political so much, it's more about the fact that, is this a weaponization of our judiciary for the political promotion of an agenda? And whether or not that's effective policy, whether or not that's good for the country to have this. So 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, this is a little bit different. this smacks of a more saber rattling. I think with the Disney scenario, the difference there is the governor's office actually took action, and I think that when you saw Disney's response, I think so. It seems this is a step back from that with sort of just posturing so much, but I'm just not sure that the priority is on Bud Light's investment strategy or the duties to the pension so much as it is to the citizens of the state of Florida to get them some sort of relief from the homeowners insurance crisis in this state. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. Give us a call now, and we're happy to help any way we can. You're welcome to reach out to us via email, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com, or like we had a couple weeks ago, you can go directly on the website and submit your question through there. You can also go to our Facebook page, Attorney Patrick Smith, and you can post your question or comment directly in the comments of the feed, and we will be happy to answer your question. We actually featured the comment on last week's show. It was regarding a hypothetical regarding intestate probate of a couple passing away several years apart. So if you have a question about something like that, you have multiple paths to reaching us. So 877-943-9673. That's your number to talk to us live on the air today. And you can give us a call now, and we'll be happy to help with you. For those of you new to the show, this is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. We do this every week. We're here just as a community service to you to answer your legal questions. So if anything ever pops up and you need some free legal advice, know that we're here every Saturday morning, 8 to 9 for you. So that number, 877-943-9673. Next, we're going to go to Michael in Lake Placid. Michael, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm great, Michael. How can we help?
Good. I was comment on Governor DeSantis.
Fire at will.
And I understand, it's all politics. Sure, I get it. There are a lot of things that need to be fixed. I mean, you got Medicare, you got medical, everything. People are needing all kinds of money for food, for rent. Rent is crazy. Of course, the insurance. Why aren't we working on any of that? And we're worried about Barbie, and we're worried about Disney, and we're worried about Bud Light. I get it. Corporations are going to make money. That's what they do. That's what they're supposed to do. Insurance companies are making billions and not wanting to pay out.
Well, Michael, it's funny you bring up Barbie, because we actually had considered prepping a piece on Barbie. And spoiler alert for any of you who have not yet seen Barbie, turn off your radio for the next 60 seconds, because there's actually elements to the Barbie movie where there was a question whether or not Barbie was being falsely imprisoned in the movie. And there was a very brief discussion about, is this content for the show? And ultimately we decided not. And I say that to say this, Michael, that's an example. You prioritize what's most important, and the potential false imprisonment of Barbie, not the most important topic we could cover today. So we scrapped it, other than mentioning it in this call. And
right.
I agree with you. I think there are so many other issues that affect Floridians. And I just think with regard to the Bud Light scenario, I just think most Floridians don't wake up daily and have that impacting their life. I think homeowners insurance is the number one crisis affecting Florida citizens right now. I can't think of anything greater as far as a problem affecting the citizens of the state of Florida. And Michael, you're welcome to correct me if I'm wrong.
I believe you're absolutely correct. That and like I said, people are struggling hard, and I get that. I did it for years myself. I was able to work and make a good living and save my money and do what I was supposed to do. But, it's hard on me too.
Yeah.
But, there's more important things than worrying about a movie, worrying about, just worry about people, not what you want to advance yourself by being the radical person, the radical candidate.
Hey, Michael, I have a clip queued up. Do you have a second to stick around? Do you have that clip ready, Yamika? Okay, Michael, I'm going to play a clip because I want to get your thoughts on this. It's not a very long clip, but it's a clip I had lined up just because of this DeSantis piece. And I thought that, you never know what kind of calls are going to come in. And I saw that Brian was working hard screening quite a few calls that didn't make it on the air. So I'm sure that I'm sure people have strong opinions about this, and Brian definitely working hard in there. At least according to that call screener, he is. I'm going to play this clip, and then Michael, I'll get your thoughts. Yumiko, go ahead and play the clip.
Should focus more on Florida.
No. You can take that one. It's the next one. The two governors. I'm gonna skip to that one. Do you have that queued up, Yumiko? No. Okay. All right. Well, there was a clip. There's two governors who go on and they basically say, "Look, there's nothing wrong with disagreeing, but it's how we disagree that is going to say everything about the future of the country." And you found it. You got it. All right. Yumiko's got it. Yumiko, hit it.
I'm Spencer Cox, Republican governor of Utah.
And I'm Jared Polis, Democratic governor of Colorado.
And we're here to help save your family dinners.
You know what we're talking about.
You're halfway through your second helping of mashed potatoes when your MAGA uncle decides to share his thoughts on the latest election conspiracy.
We all have that uncle.
Or instead of passing the salt, your woke niece passes along a particularly controversial fact that she read on social media.
Or maybe you're the one with the strong opinions. You know you're right, and the other side is a bunch of misguided weirdos. But there's a healthy way to deal with conflicting opinions. Actually, it's okay to disagree.
It's not just okay, it's crucial.
Did you just disagree with me about disagreeing?
Healthy disagreement means not assuming that the other side is deluded, misinformed, or actively trying to overthrow America.
A little respect and curiosity keeps resentment off the dinner table.
And out of your social media feeds.
Our nation was founded by people who profoundly disagreed.
So next time your uncle, your niece, or anyone else brings up that one topic that just drives you nuts, take a deep breath.
Be curious, ask questions. If you still disagree, that's okay. But you might find that you aren't as far apart as you think.
Conflict isn't bad. It's the way we disagree that matters. Please join us in showing America the right kind of conflict.
Together,
we can disagree better.
So, Michael, there's the clip. And when it got to the woke niece, Lexi was saying, "That's me. That's me at the dinner table." Michael, are you the MAGA uncle?
No, I am not.
You're not. Well, anyway, so what do you think of that clip and about that just general, hey, we can disagree in a healthy, constructive, non-brawling way? What are your thoughts on that, Michael?
I believe absolutely correct. Back 3 years ago when all this really started going crazy, I had an opinion, and like I said, I'm not a MAGA person, and I was, deleted from people's Facebook because I didn't agree with them, but I didn't dog them out on their beliefs. I just tried to correct, here's what I think. And they were really upset that I didn't believe what they did. I was wrong. I was a communist. I'm like, really? It's just my opinion.
Well, and here's what I've discovered over the years. When you get engaged in those sorts of debates with parties and they start lobbying you or those sort of attacks, it's really a great opportunity to listen to what those comments are saying about the person who's making the comments, because that's what they're doing, is they're telling you about themselves when they make those comments about you, because those comments have nothing to do with you in reality. And it has everything to do with them and whether or not they're actually secure in the belief that they're promoting. So, Michael, Michael, fantastic call. Really appreciate you. Enjoy your Saturday in Lake Placid, okay?
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And what they said, they quoted Ted Lasso, and they said, be curious. I think there's a lot of health in just being curious about people you disagree with or don't understand. Be curious. All right, let's go to James in Clearwater. James, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Yes, if you had a ladybird deed, how's that play into forming a trust? Or not a good idea?
So the ladybird deed would sort of be an attempt to avoid probate. I think it's not necessarily the certainty that a trust would bring to the situation. And to demonstrate that, when you ladybird, you split the fee simple ownership into two pieces: life estate, remainder interest. Problem there is if that remainder interest holder dies before you, we potentially have a probate. Whereas the difference is if the property's in the trust and the person you left the property to in the trust passes away, the trust will have a contingency plan there, James, to say, and if this person passes, then to that deceased person's children or whatever, you'll continue to steer the bequest or devise. Additionally, I think that the trust offers you the opportunity to plan for incapacitation. And I think the ladybird is sort of going to potentially put the property in limbo if you have it ladybirded and you haven't died yet, but you're incapacitated because of dementia, Alzheimer's, or some other sort of faculty affecting illness.
Will that having that deed prevented from going into a trust, or can you roll that into a trust somehow?
Well, you got to look at the deed. So if you get me a copy of the ladybird deed, I can take a look at it and tell you what it would take to sort of roll that property into a trust that you had created. But we would need to do a review of the document. It's impossible to sort of give you any sort of good legal advice about a document without putting eyes on it. So that's why we offer the free consultation.
Okay, I appreciate it.
James, what station are you listening on?
860.
860, the answer. We appreciate you, James. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, okay?
Good thing. Bye.
Bye-bye. Alrighty, 877-943-9673. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. If you want to schedule that complimentary consultation, again, that office line, 877-754-6764. That's your toll-free number to schedule your complimentary consultation with me, Attorney Patrick Smith, any of our office locations throughout the state of Florida, Claremont, the Villages, Sun City Center, Sarasota, and of course, Clearwater, where James resides. Again, that toll-free office line, 877-754-6764. That's also the number if you want to book us to come out and speak to your group or organization, charity, church. We do all different types of topics throughout the state of Florida. If you have a custom topic you would like us to design a presentation for, we're, of course, happy to do that for you. Again, that toll-free number to reach us at the office, 877-754-6764. To check us out on social media, Attorney Patrick Smith. On Facebook, you can actually watch the show live. Many of you are right now. In addition to that, you can also check us out on Instagram at The Attorney Patrick Smith Show. So we will be back with you next week, live in studio to answer all of your legal questions. That number to be part of next week's program, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. And again, to reach us at the office, 877-754-6764, or shoot me an email, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. Everybody stay safe, God bless, and go Gators.
The proceeding was sponsored by the law offices of Patrick L. Smith. W282CI Tampa, W271CY Lakeland, W262CP Bayonet Point.
Online at letstalkfaith.com or listen on TuneIn and Odyssey.
Get ready, pastors, to see how much we appreciate you at our biggest ever 20th annual Pastor Appreciation Day and Ministry Expo. Wednesday, October 25th at Armature Works. Sponsored by Word of Life Bible Institute with great food, forums, valuable gifts, and keynote speaker Pastor Ken Whitten. Plus, someone's going to win a 7-night cruise from Travel Cats and MSC Cruises. It's a big day you don't want to miss. So RSVP now at letstalkfaith.com and click on the 20th annual Pastor Appreciation Day banner.